one set of stocks which have been perennially outperforming, for 2 years now, have been the NBFC stocks. Their outperformance has increased over the last 6 months, probably since April. They've almost shot up, and that's because from April, we have seen a dramatic fall in the cost of money for NBFC companies. As well, of course, they are taking over the space which is getting abdicated by the PSU banks. They are serving lower consumer ends, which the banks anyway did not serve. So for all these reasons, let's invite Vellayan Subbiah of Cholamandalam Finance to speak to us. Mr. Subbiah, thank you very much for joining us. Well, first up, what about your own cost of money? Have you also been in this debenture raising spree? What was your cost of money last year, that is FY16? How much might it be in FY17?
Yeah, Lata, thanks. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yes, definitely. I think everybody's seen a decrease in cost of funds. We have started shifting our mix more towards debentures. And that's, when we raise from debentures, it's basically at least 100 bips cheaper than what we get from term loans for the same tenure. And that's currently what's happening from a pricing perspective. So obviously that's very favorable for us. That's one of the factors that's been working in our favor. Not the only one, but definitely one of them.
Okay. Mr. Subbiah, good morning. You are primarily in the vehicle finance, though of course of late the dependence has come down. CV market of late has seen a bit of a decline over the last 3 or 4 months. We see that in the numbers, for example, from Ashok Leyland. If you could tell us what's happening in that space.
Yeah, so the numbers you see from Ashok Leyland is predominantly data. There are two drivers there, right? One is you're seeing predominantly data on heavies. And then the second factor is that, you have a bit of a base effect because Ashok Leyland had a huge year last year at the same point in time. But notwithstanding, we're fairly well spread across the entire CV segment. And not just CVs, we work on the passenger car and the MUV side as well. We also have a fair penetration in the used commercial vehicle segment. So actually, not just us, but if you go outside the heavy commercial vehicle segment, you're still seeing fairly robust growth in the overall CV market and CV demand. So I think that what you're seeing in terms of Ashok Leyland's data is restricted to heavies and is driven by part of that base effect problem.
So you mean your LCV loans have grown substantially?
So you have both, Lata, you have both LCVs and you have the used commercial vehicle business. Okay. And you have, basically getting into tractors. All of those segments continue to grow. Okay.
Well, there are some statements coming in from the Deputy Governor. I would guess it's Mr. Mundra speaking at the SBI conclave. Basically no numbers on credit growth. Well, speaking of credit growth, actually, Mr. Subbiah, I'm given to understand that a large part of your loans are actually on fixed rate. 67% is what our in-house analyst tells us. In that case, the cheaper money is going to mean higher margins. What will be the NIMs for this year versus last year?
Yeah, that is correct, Lata. So definitely cheaper money is better for us because 2/3 of our loan book is fixed. We don't expect too much increase in NIMs because our NIMs are already fairly high. Or kind of, if you kind of average over the cycle, we're at a higher point in our cycle. But yes, that does translate into a higher NIM for us, right? I'd rather not guide on specific numbers.
Fair enough. Oh, well, a guidance on NIMs is okay, I would think. But what about NPAs? You all had shown a marginal 10 basis point higher gross NPLs when you last reported numbers. Has that peaked? Your provisions came down, but
yes.
How will the NPA picture look current quarter, next quarter, and therefore how much might provisioning eat up?
Yeah, so definitely we see on the commercial vehicle side, NPAs are now on a decline, and I think that they will continue to trend that way. So I think that's a good news for us. We are having internal discussions as to when we will move to 90-day provisioning. And so that will obviously kind of create some kind of a spike in NPAs as well. It creates an increase, but it's more optics because, basically we'll move to 90-day provisioning ahead of the RBI requirement for us to do that.
When will you move? This quarter or next quarter?
We're not. We've not decided yet, Lata. We basically have another at least 18 months, so we have to decide. It's somewhere in the next 18 months. Let me put it that way.
Okay. What are you now at? 180 days, or have you all moved at least to 4 months or something?
We're at 120 days now.
Okay, 4 months.
Okay. Can you give an outlook on return on equity, because that has picked up a bit.
Yes.
Some of your peers have 25, 30%. Of course, maybe much smaller in base. But last quarter was 21.5%. Last year was 16.7%. If you could give some analysis on that, or some preview on that.
So obviously we're seeing an increase there. So just to guide you, obviously, it's not coming because of any specific change in leverage, but ROAs are beginning to go up. We finished last year with a 3.6% pre-tax ROA, and our belief is, with a decrease in cost and funds, slight decreases in operating expenses, and like you said, some growth comes back into the market and lower credit losses, that number will start pushing upwards a bit. And so that will basically increase in result in an increase in ROEs as well.
So can we work with a 4% ROA and a 20% ROE?
So you're doing the maths on that, Lata.
No, you have to give us some guidance. So I was just
so basically, again, right? I mean, I think 20% is a tad high for kind of where we'll get this year. But it really depends on how the second half plays out.
Okay. Just one number then. Just one number. What might be your credit cost compared to last year?
You're talking about
provisioning.
You're talking about NCLs?
Yes.
Yeah, talking about NCLs. Yeah, so again, NCLs, I'd say will probably be in the range of 20 to 30 bips lower than last year.
All right. We'll leave it at that. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Subbiah, for joining us. So probably underplaying the kind of growth, but clearly lower cost of money will mean that the return on assets is going to be better than last year. Even the credit cost, what they spend on bad assets is going to be lower. Every which way, better performance.
Okay, let's take a break on that note. Once we come back, we'll get some fresh technical picks.